You're staring at one dish in the sink. Just one. 45 seconds. That's all it would take. But your body won't move. It's not that you don't care. You care so much it's destroying you. You're screaming at yourself, just get up. Just do it. But the bridge between wanting and doing has completely collapsed. Everyone's called you lazy at least once. Your family, your friends, maybe yourself. But what if this has a name, a biological explanation, and absolutely nothing to do with willpower? Here's the quiet paradox nobody talks about. You're not sitting still because nothing's happening inside you. You're sitting still because everything is happening inside you. Your mind is running, planning, rehearsing every micro step of that one simple task. Stand up, walk to the sink, turn on the faucet, grab the sponge, pick up the dish, and each step feels like it weighs something. Not physically, mentally. The gap between wanting to do something and actually doing it isn't empty. It's full. Full of calculations your conscious mind can't even see. Full of energy your body has already spent before you've moved a single muscle. And from the outside, you just look like you're doing nothing. But your brain isn't resting. Not even close. Here's where it gets interesting. Your brain isn't resting during all of this. That gap between wanting and doing isn't empty. Here's what's actually filling it. Your brain is running dress rehearsals, hundreds of them, for every single task you haven't started yet. Pick up the dish, but wait, the sponge is dirty. So first clean the sponge, but the soap is almost empty. So add soap to the list, but the list is on your phone, and your phone is in the other room. And now your brain has just burned through 5 steps for a task that hasn't even begun. This isn't laziness. This is your brain doing what it's designed to do. Simulate outcomes before committing resources. The problem isn't that your brain is broken. The problem is that it's too thorough. Imagine an air traffic controller managing 100 flights at once. Every micro task in your life is a plane on that radar, and your brain is trying to land all of them simultaneously. Not because you asked it to, because that's how it's wired. And here's the thing. There's actual neuroscience behind this. The part of your brain responsible for starting tasks, switching between them, and deciding what matters right now. It's called the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the CEO of your brain. It manages planning, prioritization, impulse control. Basically everything you need to get off the couch and wash that dish. But here's what most people don't know. Your prefrontal cortex has a limited budget. Not unlimited, limited. Every decision you make, every task you plan, every worry you process, it all draws from the same account. And when that account runs dry, the system doesn't slow down gracefully. It freezes. What researchers like Adele Diamond at the University of British Columbia found is that executive functions, the very abilities your prefrontal cortex controls, are the first cognitive systems to suffer under stress, sleep deprivation, or emotional overload. Not the last, the first. So when you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or running on 4 hours of sleep, the part of your brain responsible for just do it is literally the first thing to shut down. It's not a willpower problem. It's a resource problem. Your CEO called in sick, and nobody else knows how to run the office. But your prefrontal cortex isn't working alone. There's another system involved, and this one explains why big tasks feel easier than small ones. Your dopamine system. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's about anticipation. It's the chemical that tells your brain, this task is worth starting. There's a reward at the end. And here's the cruel part. Big tasks, work deadlines, emergencies, crises. They come with obvious urgent rewards. Your brain can see the payoff. So dopamine fires, and you move. But small tasks, washing one dish, replying to one email, your brain looks at the reward and thinks, not worth it. Not much will change when this is done. Someone described this perfectly. Small tasks feel not worth it because not really much has changed when you're finished. And that's not just a feeling. Researchers like Nora Volkow at the National Institutes of Health found that dopamine pathways are directly tied to motivation, not just reward, but the drive to initiate action. When the anticipated reward is too small or too abstract, the signal simply doesn't fire. Your brain isn't choosing to ignore small tasks. It literally can't generate the startup signal for them. It's not that you won't. It's that the bridge between wanting and doing has no fuel. And this brings us to the most important distinction, the one that changes everything. Here's the thing. Laziness feels like not caring. Executive dysfunction feels like caring so much that your entire system overloads. Lazy is, I don't want to do it. Executive dysfunction is, I want to do it and I can't start. Lazy is comfort. Executive dysfunction is torment. Lazy doesn't search for answers. Executive dysfunction is watching this video at 2 a.m. trying to understand what's wrong with you. Psychologist Russell Barkley, one of the leading researchers in executive function, describes it as a failure not of will, but of the brain's self-management system. The intention is there. The desire is there. What's missing is the neurological bridge between wanting and doing. If you're watching this right now, you're not lazy. Lazy people don't search for answers at 2 a.m. Lazy people don't feel guilty about the dishes in the sink. You feel guilty because you care. And that's the part nobody told you. But knowing this doesn't make the shame go away. You can understand the neuroscience. You can memorize the difference between executive dysfunction and laziness. You can explain it to someone else and sound perfectly rational. But the moment you're lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, surrounded by everything you didn't finish, none of that knowledge reaches you. Because shame doesn't argue with facts. It argues with identity. It doesn't say your prefrontal cortex is overloaded. It says you are fundamentally broken. It doesn't say your dopamine pathway didn't fire. It says everyone else can do this. Why can't you? And the worst part? The shame creates its own evidence. Every unfinished task becomes proof. Every cancelled plan becomes a verdict. Every time someone says, it's not that hard, and you know they're right, it's not that hard, and you still can't do it, that becomes the final exhibit in the case your brain has been building against you for years. There is something permanently, irreversibly wrong with me. And here's the cruelest irony. The same brain that can't start the dishes, it has unlimited energy for this. For the shame spiral, for the self-prosecution, for replaying every failure at 3 a.m. with perfect clarity. Your brain won't let you wash a plate, but it will let you destroy yourself over not washing it. Knowledge is the first step, but knowledge alone doesn't dissolve what years of repetition built. But here's where everything changes. What if I told you that your brain isn't broken? What if the freezing, the paralysis, the inability to start? What if all of it is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do? Here's the thing. Your brain has one primary job above all others. Keep you alive. Not productive, not efficient, not impressive. Alive. And when your system detects overload, too many decisions, too much emotional weight, too little recovery, it doesn't push through. It shuts down non-essential operations. The same way a building's electrical system trips a breaker before the wiring catches fire. That freezing you feel, that's not failure. That's a safety mechanism. Your brain looked at your energy reserves, looked at the 57 things demanding your attention, and made a calculation. If I let this person push through right now, they will crash harder later. So it pulls the emergency brake. Not because you're weak, because the system is trying to prevent a bigger collapse. You're not broken. You're overloaded. And there's a massive difference between the two. Broken means something is wrong with you. Overloaded means something is wrong with the demand. Broken means you need to be fixed. Overloaded means you need to be understood. And once you see it this way, the pattern reveals itself. Like why you can power through an 8-hour work crisis but can't reply to a text message afterward. Like why you can reorganize your entire apartment the night before guests arrive but can't fold one shirt on a Tuesday. Like why deadlines at work somehow get met. But the dishes have been in the sink for 4 days. Here's what's happening. Your brain runs a triage system, just like an emergency room. When everything comes in at once, it doesn't treat patients in the order they arrived. It treats them by urgency. A work deadline has a visible consequence. Miss it, and something bad happens immediately. Your brain sees that threat, flags it as urgent, and floods the system with enough energy to act. But fold a shirt, reply to a friend, wash that dish, or there's no visible consequence, no deadline, no one watching. Your brain looks at the reward signal and sees static, not worth the energy investment. So the big tasks get done, not because you have more energy for them, but because your brain is borrowing from tomorrow's reserves to survive today's threats. And the small tasks? They keep sinking to the bottom of a list that never gets shorter. It's not a choice. It's a calculation your nervous system is making without your permission. And the worst part, you don't see the triage. You just see the results. You see the crisis handled and the dishes untouched. And your brain whispers, see, you can do hard things, so why can't you do easy ones? That question is a trap, and it leads somewhere cruel. And this is where the cruelest part begins. Remember that trap? You can do hard things, so why can't you do easy ones? Here's what happens when you fall into it. You fail to start a small task. The shame hits. And the shame doesn't just hurt. It drains the exact same energy reserves your brain needs to start the next task. So you fail that one too. And the shame doubles. It's a vicious cycle. And that's not metaphor. It's literally how the system works. Shame activates your stress response. Your stress response burns through your prefrontal cortex budget, the same budget you need for task initiation. So shame about not doing the task makes it harder to do the next task, which creates more shame, which burns more budget, which creates more paralysis. And over time, you stop trying. Not because you don't care, but because your brain has learned that trying leads to failure, and failure leads to pain. So it stops generating the initiation signal altogether. Not because the will was never there, but because the system learned that trying hurts more than not trying. This is called learned helplessness, and it's not a personality trait. It's a neurological adaptation. Your brain is doing math. The pain of trying and failing outweighs the pain of not trying at all. So, don't try. And from the outside, that looks exactly like laziness. But you know what it actually is? It's a protection system that's been running too long without an update. A fire alarm that's been going off so long you stopped hearing it, keeping you stuck in a loop you can't see the edges of. But here's the thing, and this is the part that changes everything. You can see the edges now. You understand the triage. You understand the shutdown. You understand the shame loop. And understanding the other loop is the first crack in it. But understanding isn't the finish line. It's the starting point. Someone once wrote, once I understood why I couldn't start, I could start figuring out how. They stopped fighting their brain, stopped treating every frozen moment as a moral failure. And instead, they started asking a different question. Not what's wrong with me, but what does my system need right now? And that shift from fighting your brain to working with it, that changes everything. Because once you stop treating paralysis as laziness, you can start treating it as information. Your brain freezing isn't a failure, it's a signal. It's telling you the demand is too high, the reward is too invisible, the budget is empty, and signals can be answered. The task feels too big? Break it smaller than you think you need to. Not clean the kitchen, not even wash the dishes. Just turn on the faucet. One action, no sequel. Let your brain experience a completion without the weight of what comes next. The reward is invisible? Make it visible. Set a timer for 10 minutes. When it rings, you're done, whether the task is finished or not. Now your brain has a boundary it can see. The shame is loud? Name it. Out loud if you have to. This is shame. This is the loop. This is my stress response burning through my prefrontal cortex budget. Because the moment you name the loop, you're standing outside of it. You don't need to be fixed. You were never broken. You need to stop asking, why can't I just do it? And start asking, what is my brain telling me right now? That's not a cure. It's a conversation. The first real conversation you've ever had with the system that's been trying to protect you this entire time. And some days, the faucet is all you'll manage. And that's enough. Because the goal was never perfection. The goal was understanding. And you're already there. If this video describes something you've been feeling but couldn't put into words, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes understanding starts with knowing you're not the only one. And if you want to keep this conversation going, tell me in the comments, what's the one small task that's been sitting there, waiting? Not to fix it, just to name it. Because naming it That's the first crack.